Welcome, everybody, to the Coming Apocalypse. I'm Pastor Paul Begley. Are you serious? These guys finally got together. What? What's the deal? What's the problem? Well, it's the longest a prime minister of Israel has ever had to wait to meet with a president after asking to meet. And they met in New York yesterday at the United Nations on a side room. And Netanyahu was left sitting for 30 minutes before Biden showed up. President Biden was 30 minutes late. That has to be showing you just how cold this relationship is. And I'm going to share more about that, not only the relationship between Netanyahu and Biden, but Netanyahu and every president he's had to deal with in his 6 terms as prime minister of Israel. Can I put a shout out right now? Can I please put a shout out right now for www.chuckdefense.com/Paul. That's www.chuckdefense.com/Paul. Have you ever wondered? Have you guys ever wondered what happened to the legendary Chuck Norris? Well, I recently saw a video he made, and I was shocked. He's in his 80s. He's still kicking butt, folks. He's working out. He's staying active. And what's even more shocking is he's stronger. He can work out longer and even has plenty of energy left over for his grandkids. He did this by just making one change. He says he still feels like he's in his 50s. His wife even started doing this one thing too, and she's never felt better. She says she feels 10 years younger. Her body looks leaner, and she has energy all day. Chuck Norris made a special video for you that explains everything. Makes you want to watch it by going to simply this, www.chuckdefense.com/Paul. That's chuckdefense.com/Paul. Or what you should do, just click on that. It's in the description there, in the description below the video. It would change the way you think about health. And once again, that's chuckdefense.com/Paul. And click on. You'll be glad you did. Wow. Yeah, it's incredible. He's incredible. Loves the Lord, strong Christian conservative, and yeah, just a neat guy. Amen. All right. Here we go. What's going on with the Biden and Netanyahu situation? Well, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu finally left his long-awaited meeting with President Joe Biden yesterday, with exactly the result he wanted. He was invited to the White House before the end of the year. So Biden is going to let him come and meet him at the White House. And this is significant for Netanyahu because it shows the relationship and still, the close walking with America. And that's why it matters. For 9 months, Biden has been asking, can I come to Washington? And he's been declined to meet Biden over concerns about his far-right government and his steps to weaken Israel's Supreme Court. That's Biden's excuse. The tensions have significantly clouded the relationship between these two allies. But between the lines, although, policy differences also remain. Biden recognizes that continuing to give Netanyahu the cold shoulder could harm his political standing with U.S. supporters of Israel and complicate the efforts to reach a mega deal with Saudi Arabia and Israel. And that, believe me, Biden is trying to get that done. Now, at least publicly, this meeting appears to succeed in lowering the temperature some and countering the perception that the two allies are just drifting apart. So it's glad they finally met in New York. Biden said, I suffer from an oxymoron, Irish optimism. If you and I 10 years ago were talking about normalization with Saudi Arabia, I think we'd look at each other, Biden said, and say, who's been drinking what? And Netanyahu jokingly said, we'd be drinking good Irish whiskey. Okay, so they joke around a little bit and say that's, but it's been 10 years and now they are talking about that very thing. Netanyahu was freezed out for 265 days. That is the longest period any Israeli prime minister has ever had to wait to meet the United States president since 1964. So the only prime minister had to wait longer was Prime Minister Levi Eshkol, that Richard Nixon made wait 341 days, almost a full year. Behind the scenes, this meeting yesterday, though, didn't start well because Netanyahu got there, like I said, on time, but at the Intercontinental Hotel in New York. But Biden was 30 minutes late. But when Biden did arrive, he immediately gave Netanyahu what he wanted, and that was, I will see you in Washington by the end of this year. But in private, Biden and Netanyahu spent the hour-long meeting discussing Netanyahu's judicial overhaul of the Supreme Court in Israel, which I don't know what that has to do with Biden. Okay. Number two, but that's a big deal to Biden. Number two, the Israeli official said that Netanyahu found Biden to be mentally sharp and dismissed concerns about his cognitive state. But the judicial overhaul was a big one for Biden. The state of normalization talks with Saudi Arabia was another big discussion. And Iran and the situation with Iran, and you got to know that Netanyahu is saying, why are you giving this guy $6 billion? And the situation in the West Bank, where Biden is telling Netanyahu, stop building settlements. So, how's that going to work? So here's what I did, guys. Here's what I did. I thought about this all the way. I thought it through, and I began to jot down notes and put together my thoughts on what this whole thing means. Really, what it all means, and I think that maybe this will help us see the bigger picture from a macro view. Okay, so let's talk about that. Yeah, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, guys, he's been a prominent figure in Israeli politics for several decades, serving multiple terms. He's actually on his 6th term as the country's leader. And throughout his tenure, he has had to work with several U.S. presidents, each of whom brought their unique challenges and opportunities to the table. So let's take a look at that. First of all, President Bill Clinton. Netanyahu's first term as prime minister coincided with President Bill Clinton's 2nd term. Their relationship was characterized by tension, especially surrounding the Oslo Accords and peace negotiations with the Palestinians. And despite their differences, they did manage to work together on various issues, including the Wye River Memorandum in 1998, which aimed to advance the peace process. All right, so it wasn't a rocky start. Number 2, President George W. Bush. Netanyahu's 2nd term overlapped with President George W. Bush's final years in office. The two leaders had a relatively good rapport, with shared concerns about Iran's nuclear ambitions and a focus on counterterrorism. However, their relationship was overshadowed. Major difference when Bush forced 10,000 Israelis to have to leave their homes in the West Bank and give them to the Palestinians. That was a huge problem. And then there's Barack Obama. Netanyahu's 3rd term coincided with President Barack Obama's both of his terms, 2 terms. Their relationship was notably strained, primarily due to the disagreements over the Iranian nuclear deal. The famous President Obama putting his shoes on on the Oval Office desk facing Israel in an article and a response didn't go well. Netanyahu's controversial address to the U.S. Congress in 2015 without prior coordination with the White House also strained their ties. Didn't go well. And then Netanyahu's fourth term, that overlapped President Donald Trump's entire presidency, marked by a particularly close and friendly relationship. Trump recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital, moving the U.S. embassy there. And he presented a peace plan that Netanyahu supported. And this era saw significant shifts in U.S.-Israeli relations, with Israel receiving unprecedented support from the Trump administration. And then lastly, we have now Netanyahu's partly fifth and sixth, because there's a little 1.5 years or 18 months that Netanyahu wasn't prime minister. So it's been Netanyahu had his fifth, and now he's on his sixth term as prime minister. He's faced a new challenge, though, with Joe Biden when Biden assumed the presidency in 2021. Unlike the warm rapport that Netanyahu had with Trump, his relationship with Biden got off to a very rocky start. The delay in their first meeting, which I just told you finally took place yesterday, raised questions about the dynamics between these two leaders. One reason for the delay in their meeting was the pandemic, which restricted international travel and in-person diplomacy. That was during Netanyahu's fifth term. And additionally, there was differences in their priorities and approaches to key issues. And Biden, of course, has aimed to re-engage with Iran on the nuclear deal, with Netanyahu vehemently opposed it. That gave Israel, because, you understand the security concerns. And Israel's government also has faced political instability with a series of elections leading to a very fragile coalition government that they have right now. And despite the initial tensions, Netanyahu and Biden eventually met in June of 2021. They discussed a range of issues, including regional security and the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. While the relationship may not have the same warmth as the Netanyahu-Trump partnership, somehow they've committed to keep maintaining a strong U.S.-Israel ties. What does this mean, guys? I mean, why does this keep happening? Well, let me put it to you this way. Israel really, guys, holds a very immense biblical significance, really, for the whole world, especially in the context of end-time eschatology, end-time prophecy. Various religions and traditions. Now, it's not just for Christians. Israel plays a role in Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. And when you're attached to that type of spiritual importance to the land of Israel, well, it's going to create some issues. Christian eschatology, let's say our belief in the Bible, says Israel plays a central role in the final events of history. Matter of fact, Dr. Lester Sumrall said, if you want to know about end-time prophecy, you got to keep your eye on Israel, because that is God's prophetic timepiece. Also, there's significant passages of the return of Jesus Christ to Jerusalem. Now, also a key prophecy often referenced, also Christians strongly, well, not all of them, but strongly believe, was the restoration of Israel as a nation. That was a huge prophecy fulfilled in 1948. Huge. Because Ezekiel said it with dry bones was going to finally come alive, and Israel would be rebirthed. Isaiah even said, can a nation be reborn in a day? It did. Israel's establishment in 1948 as a modern nation state was seen by many Christians as fulfillment of biblical prophecy. And additionally, Jerusalem, considered a holy city by all three Abrahamic religions and central to eschatological beliefs. And Trump moving the U.S. embassy there and declaring Jerusalem the capital of Israel was another milestone in Bible prophecy. Now, many theologians, though, and some of my colleagues They debate the precise interpretation of these prophecies and the connection to the events, but some view Israel's existence and geopolitical developments as indicators of approaching end time scenarios, while others emphasize just the spiritual interpretation rather than the geopolitical ones. So let me just say this. The history of Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, his interactions with these U.S. presidents, has been marked by both cooperation and tension, reflecting the complexities of the Middle East politics. His relationship with President Biden, initially strained, I think it's still strained, has evolved to prioritize shared interests. The biblical significance of Israel continuing to be a topic of deep religious and theological and eschatology debate with not only with Christians, but Jews and Muslims. Believers from various traditions are all looking to the prophecy, looking for insight into these biblical events. And as the political landscape continues to evolve, Israel's place in history and in eschatology continues. So I think that. I'm sorry. What? So it's really important that we continue to see these two getting together. It's still very important, and thank God they did. But the differences, I think, are far, far apart. We're in the end times. I promised I'd play a song, didn't I? So I was going to play Rattle, but I promised a brother that I would play Mission Temple Fireworks Stand. So give me a moment, and I will pull that one up. Will I find it? I should. I should have these all downloaded on my phone, so it'd be so much easier. I would think I would do that. Maybe I'll get Israel to do that for me. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Is that it? Yeah, here we go. Let's see if I can find it. Sorry about that, everybody. Here we go. Mission Temple Fireworks Stand. It's on my album, The Journey. I saw a black man with a Bible and a sparkler in his hand. He was holding a tent revival and running a fireworks stand. He said the end of the world is coming, so you better get on your knees. Today bottle rockets 2 for 1, but salvation's free. He said, I quit my job at a big church where the milk and money flow to sell cherry bombs for Jesus in a tent beside the road. I ain't in it for the money, no cars they pass on by, but I pay the rent on New Year's and the 4th of July. Here at the Holy Ghost, Big Bang Theory, Pentecostal, Fire Brimstone, Mission Temple Fireworks Stand. Tonight's Mike from around the world, of course. 9 o'clock. They can blow up in your face. Better read the instructions, light the fuse and get away. These things are made in China, so it's easy to see how a man who worships Buddha ain't got no guarantee. This is the Holy Ghost, Big Bang Theory, Pentecostal. That's a good question, Brian. It's a great question, Brian. Mission Temple Fireworks Stand. Here we go! He said everything I've said and it's all going up in smoke. This world is like an atomic bomb, it's ready to explode. When the trumpet sounds and the Lord comes back, I promise you one thing, I'll be a human bottle rocket, and I'll go out with a bang. I'll leave this Holy Ghost, Big Bang Theory, Pentecostal, fire brimstone. It's Mission Temple Fireworks Stand. I'll leave this Holy Ghost,
Holy Ghost,
Big Bang Theory,
Big Bang Theory,
Pentecostal,
Pentecostal,
fire brimstone.
fire brimstone.
It's Mission Temple Fireworks Stand. Mission Temple Fireworks Stand. It's Mission Temple Fireworks Stand.
Are you serious?
Well, I am very, I think we're all very, very serious. You need to give your life to Jesus Christ because we truly are running out of time. Guys, you know, tonight, Mike from around the world is going to join me. That broadcast will start at 9 p.m. Eastern. That's 9 p.m. Eastern. It will be a dynamic show, I guarantee, especially now that what came out of this United Nations meetings. And really, I think Biden disclosed his real intentions of these last days, or I should say, his last days of this administration for the first term, hopefully the only term. So we're going to, so, I've talked to Mike about Saudi Arabia, and Mike really has been consistent on his view that Saudi Arabia will eventually get blown away. And so I want to, what I want to do, because I just watched the interview with Mohammed bin Salman on Brett Baer interviewed him for an hour on Fox, over at Fox News. And this guy's goals are to unify really the world and to also build the world's largest building called Nome, which Pastor Steve Ciccolani says the word Nome means wickedness. But Saudi Arabia is, so important in the whole, when it comes to the global connections, especially with its oil and with Islam because of Mecca and Medina. So think about it. What in the world causes a massive explosion, or I should say destruction of this entire country? And so we're going to ask Mike about that because things are really starting to move. Like I said, Biden trying so hard to connect Israel and Saudi Arabia in a peace agreement and get Saudi Arabia to sign the Abraham Accords. So this is very huge what's going on. We're going to keep our eye on it for sure. That is for sure. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed these 3 videos I've done this morning. And I will see you again unless something major breaks. I will see you guys again tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. Now I got to go to the studios and interview Pastor Mark Biltz and Michelle Denis for the webinar, The Final Countdown, Road to Revelation. So I'm going to go take care of that. We're going to be working all afternoon and come back, and then I'll be preparing for the show tonight at 9. So pretty busy day. So God bless all of you. I love you guys. And meanwhile, my son Brock is driving to Chicago right now to pick up Pastor Sammy Naik from India. He's coming in for about 6 weeks to visit churches in America. So we're coordinating that right now, as well as several other things. Heidi, don't forget Heidi's webinar that's coming up October 14th. That's really going to be good. That's really going to be good. So don't forget that. Okay, come and be a part of that. She is doing a conference on refreshing the soul. Oh man, it's really going to be good for the ladies, and it's going to be at the Eisenhower Recreation Center here in the Villages in Florida, and it will be held between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. But boy, it's going to be good. It's formerly Jacob, and going to be Kelsey. Claire Coper's going to be singing along with Michelle Davis, and Heidi Begley will be speaking along with Sue McIntyre. You're going to really enjoy her, and just it's going to be a great conference. Okay, so see if you can plan to attend. All right. God bless all of you.